Here, and welcome to the Medium channel where we bring you the spirituality behind the message and assist you in your awakening process. So, for this live stream, we're going to keep it brief tonight. What we're going to do is talk about, firstly, the astrology and numerology. And let me turn the pings off. Talk about the astrology and numerology coming up for February 2022. I will share with you what I've been receiving through spirit. I did some automatic writing last night, so I got some messages, and then I'll share some practices that we can do. February 2022 is a very interesting and it's a very charged period leading to what I think in the month of March is going to be a big opening and an unveiling of the truth. So we have a little water and hi, let's see who's in. Doreen and Susan, hello to all, welcome. So firstly, happy February, that starts in a few hours. Happy Imbolc for those who celebrate or Candlemas. And this is the return of the light. And we also have a new moon tomorrow, and it's the second new moon after the winter solstice. So that means it's the Lunar New Year and it's Chinese New Year's. Welcome to the year of the tiger. Rawr! The tiger is going to be busy. I'm just thinking about Jefferson Starship, not Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship song, Ride the Tiger. So let's all ride the tiger. Let's not be the tiger's enemy. Let's ride the tiger. Tigers are about pride, they're about strength, and they tend to also hold a very high position in society because they hold a very high position in the animal kingdom. So again, there's a lot of stuff coming up that's pointing to governments, power, abuse of power, transference of power, and all that stuff. So as I dive into the astrology, so it's the new moon tomorrow. February 2022 is a universal 8-month in numerology. Now, by the way, I've got important links at the top of the live stream. I have Sharita Starr's link. I'm going to just touch on a little astrology and numerology, but she's got the good. She has all the details on what's going on in that realm and can help you out. So I left her website on the top. It's also the USA Pluto Return coming up later in the month. So there's a video that she did that I have that up on the top as well. And she may come on, and if she does, she'll share some information as I'm talking on the live stream, as she always does. If not, we have the links. Then I also have my 2022 psychic predictions for the entire year. I don't even remember what I said for February, and I purposely did not go back to that because I wanted everything to be kind of fresh from spirit, not based on things that I picked up already. And I have another video up there. I forgot which one, but oh yeah, the last Ascension updates that I did about the big news that I think is going to be breaking. It may not really happen in earnest till March, but that's all there. So you have all the links. So 2022 is an 8-month. I have my notes, so if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes and scratching my back. And the number 8 is ruled by the planet Saturn. So what we want to do is really to see what Saturn is doing astrologically, how that's placed, how that's affecting things, and the sign Capricorn that's ruled by Saturn. Now, the number 8 is about law. It can be about it's an infinity sign turned on its side, so it's about law. It's about money. It's about the institution. It's about politics. It's about the political infrastructures of our society and things like that. Now, Saturn is in mid Aquarius, so rules Capricorn, like I said. And it's going to be a Saturn as we hit this new moon. New moons are new beginnings. It's right at the beginning of the month. So once we hit the moon is at 12 degrees Aquarius. The sun's at 12 degrees Aquarius. Saturn, I believe, is at 10 to 11 degrees Aquarius. So Saturn's actually going to be conjuncting. So Saturn is basically part of the new moon energy. So a lot of Saturn energy, and again, governments, money, karma, all that stuff is part of the number 8 and part of that. Now, the USA Pluto return happens 20th, 22nd, thereabouts. I mean, Pluto moves so slowly. But the point being is that this will be the official beginning of basically a 2.5 year process where, or longer even, where basically Saturn, I mean, Pluto's going to be on the degrees that it was when the USA was born back in 1976. It's 1776, excuse me. And Pluto's about regeneration. So it's basically a death and a rebirth process that's happening with the USA. And of course, the USA is one of the major hubs of the global financial system. And moving right along, because something's in Taurus. Oh, that's Uranus. Okay, I knew that there's something in Taurus, so that's important also. Now, um, the new moon's in Aquarius, the moon's in Aquarius, so this is Aquarius season. Saturn's also in Aquarius. Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, so we want to see what Uranus is doing, because there's some very heavy Uranus and Aquarius energy. So again, new moon, 12 degrees Aquarius. Okay, I'm just sort of reading over my notes. Oh, and it's going to be in the square to Uranus and Taurus. So Taurus is going to be squaring in. Squares in astrology provide tension. I mean, it's not always a bad thing, but squares tend to tense things up as if things were intense enough already. Now, mind you, this is an awakening, so it's not all foreboding news, just to put that out there. This is part of the awakening. It's a difficult, but it's a beautiful process. So Uranus really is about, and Aquarius is about revolutionary change. It's about volatile change. It's also about community, and it's about fairness. So it's also about people coming together. And the sign Aquarius is really into human rights and human values. So Uranus has those qualities as well. So all these things are going to be active. And then the other little tidbit is that after February 3rd, all planets are going to be direct. So nothing in retrograde. Things are going to start to move forward. So what's been percolating beneath the surface is going to start to move. And so I think, especially as we get towards the middle of the month and after, things are going to really start to come out. So anyway, that's a little brief synopsis of what's going on with the astrology. And like I said, Sharita Starr can dive into the details for you. She does a blog. I left her website on the top here. So moving to page 2 now. So what I'm seeing for February is channeled from my guides. The first thing they were showing me was an influx of goddess energy or divine feminine energy. So I feel like that energy of the goddess, that's the creator, also the mother energy, the nurturer, the divine feminine. I've seen that as a big influx of that energy coming in this month. So the idea is to really work with the heart and work with compassion, because that's really what the goddess energy is about. It's about finding our divine compassion, and through our divine compassion, we start to find the truth. So that was number 1. So I have a few things written down. Practice being more softer and more supple. Go within to discover your inner strength. Now, the feminine energy is kind of taken as receptive. It's like water and earth. It's like softer and gentler, but not really. If you live on the New England coast, by the way, you got a good sampling of what water can do. So the divine feminine can be very, very fierce and very powerful also, just to kind of put that out there. But it's always a balance. There's the divine masculine, the divine feminine. Sometimes the scales tip and the divine feminine's more active. Sometimes it tips the other way and the divine masculine's more active. This is just really ask us more to go within, rather than to really put a lot of energy and action out there towards change. It's like we really don't have enough information yet. And yeah, it's not black and white. If you feel called to action in any ways, by all means, listen to your guides and listen to your intuition. But as a general statement, we really want to go within and uncover our inner truths. And by that, we can connect with what are the inner truths going on in the society and the powers that be, and so forth. So let me see what else. Be artistic and creative. Great ideas will flow. So if you're able to do more meditation, because that tends to be, because it's a passive energy, usually meditation is passive, though there are active forms of meditation. So if you really sit with that energy, that divine feminine energy, you're going to find some really good ideas, either in your life or things that you may feel that you can be helpful with the society, or you're a light worker or healer, and get some great ideas of how you can help people and help humanity. Again, this is an awakening. It's a process. And the old ways do not die easily. The personal ego, like the collective ego alike, do not like change, because the ego sees what's familiar as what's needed to survive, and it's more connected with the divine masculine. So yes, the ego can be divine also. It just can get in the way of spiritual growth, but it can be divine also. So the idea is, go within and to soften your heart, soften your mind. It's the programming is just only going to amp up. The powers that be want to maintain control. They're losing their grip. It's only going to amp up. It's only going to create more tension. More people are awakening, and then more people are resisting the awakening. It's like stretching a rubber band. Sooner or later, it's going to snap. I think that's going to happen more in March and April, but I think we'll see signs of that now. So, and I also put, you'll have access to new energies, new levels of awakening, new gifts will surface. So if you're able to just sit back and do your meditation, try to turn the news off, create maybe like a golden bubble of energy, of light, of protection around you, of higher vibration, and step away from the collective for a moment and just sit with spirit, sit with your heart, sit with your power, and some great ideas, some new insights and new abilities are likely to start to surface by doing that. Um, so I'm seeing new beginnings around underground movements. There are a lot of underground movements that we're not necessarily aware of. I do feel like there's more organization happening with that beneath the surface, and we may start to see some of the results of that. These would be people that are opposing the oppression, that are fighting for freedom and rights, and for our medical freedom and our sovereignty and things of that nature. So I'm also seeing protests like the Canadian truckers increasing, getting larger, that happening in other countries, and more people jumping on the bandwagon. So I feel like these events are just going to increase with all this Aquarius and Uranus energy. I don't see how that could not happen. That would almost seem like a slam dunk in the world of psychic predictions. So one interesting thing else that they were showing me when I was meditating was I was seeing a split. They were kind of showing me, like, I mean, there's already a divide and a split, and it may just be something additional that's coming with the program. But I'm kind of seeing like a deeper split, and kind of a breakup of sorts, and people losing faith in the world and losing faith in the government. So a lot of the split that I'm seeing is more about people that are maybe kind of pro-government, or backing the way things are being run, starting to break away from that, starting to get new insights. Aquarius and Uranus energy will do that. Saturn is about karma and lessons. So Saturn and Uranus are very active planets this month. Then I've seen financial matters slowing down. Well, one thing I do remember from my past predictions was the economy starting to shift in later January. There have been, I would not believe all the rosy news about how the economy is continuing to grow. I mean, we have record inflation, if that's the definition of economic growth. And in some ways it is growing, but that doesn't mean that it's good. And I think we have to be aware of that what goes up can come down. And being that the economy and the world governments and the structure of it is built on a house of cards, Uranus USA Pluto Return and Saturn is like this big wrecking ball that's just going to mull it over. So keep that in mind, that these structures that are not fair because the exploitation around the globe runs rampant, and the USA and other countries are big offenders, that they get their goods from companies that get things like manufactured or picked or whatever in these third world countries or in China where slave labor is known to run rampant. So there's a lot of these human right values that's very connected with the month of February, and I think a lot more of this is going to come up. So seeing some economic breakdowns, especially later in the month. Flipping to page number 3, so news covers ups, etc., begin to come out and then get suppressed again. March shows much bigger truth bombs. So, timing can change. It's all fluid. It's all consciousness. The idea is for us to be as awakened as possible, for us to be in our power as much as possible, and to expand our light into the world. And the more people that do that, the smoother the transition is going to be into higher consciousness, because that's what's happening. That there's a fundamental awakening and an evolutionary process happening in humans. Those that are in control are resisting and suppressing it because they're going to lose their power. But it's all fluid. So the more people who wake up and the more we can infuse love, light, and positivity into the collective, the smoother the transition is going to be. Then I wrote down 3 top shelf weather events in the month of February. It's like I say something about the weather every month, and I almost feel guilty. It's like, do you really need to be psychic to know that the weather is going to be crazy? And that's a big no. But I've seen, one in California, one in the Northeast, and one in the Southeast. I know we had a very big weather event very recently in the Northeast. So we may see another big nor'easter or something like that. I mean, as I'm talking, I'm seeing kind of the earth splitting and fire rising. So I think volcanic activity is going to be very high also. Shutdowns of supplies, well, that's happening already. So, it may be a little bit startling as we get late in February, exactly what supplies get shut down or what shortages come up. Be prepared, prepare for the worst. It's always a good idea to have at least a couple of weeks and not a couple of months of supplies on hand. Hope for the best. And the light forces gaining strength and piercing the heart of the oppressor. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's what I wrote down when I was doing automatic writing. And I think, and I do know what it means, actually. It just came to me. That means as we do our meditations and our work, and perhaps we'll do some meditations like that on the channel. I'll maybe next Sunday. I think I have a free night next Sunday. It's like, I'm so busy. But the idea is to really work with the heart center. But as you're meditating, project that right into the heart of the oppression and the corruption, the world leaders and stuff like that. So we'll do this as a group process. I think on Sundays at 7. I have to check my calendar in case I have something else that night. And then we can start to do it on our own. But there's strength in numbers. The more people that pray for a cause, the stronger the prayers are. The more people that meditate, the more the vibration rises. And I did actually an experiment, through Facebook. I had like 60 people on, and I'm pretty sure that there were thousands upon thousands of other people doing the same work. But this was during Black Lives Matter, and we got the group together. We all sent energy to calm the violence, to send love, and violence reduced 60% that night. Like I said, I'm not going to take credit for this. I know there were other groups, there were other meditators that were feeding that. Point being is that there is strength in numbers, there's strength in consciousness, and the more that we can send love where the hate is so deep, the more things can get done, because if we can start to dislodge some of that blackness, that darkness, that not ignorance is the wrong word, but that oppression and control, because all human beings want to love. That's what the hearts do. We all have hearts. We all want to love. We all want to be connected to spirit and source. It's innate in human instinct. And people that go against that are deeply programmed. And yeah, there may be some true evil working against that or whatever, but the idea is the more we can infuse love where the hate is the deepest, perhaps it'll soften the hate enough to get things to move in a much more of a smooth and a positive manner, and get this period of history done with, so we can start to enjoy the fruits of our labor of what's the world going to look like as more people awaken. The educational system may change, the financial systems change, it becomes more fair for everybody. We live in a world where over 85% of people don't necessarily know if they'll have food the next day or the next week. Yet we have the resources on this planet to feed the people 10 times over. The technology, the resources exist. Why are people hungry? This is not right. And it's, again, due to that separation from spirit or source. So anyway, I think you guys get the idea. So other things I wrote, okay, preparing for war in two places, but not actually going to war. Fingers crossed that comes true. I know Russia and Ukraine is one of them. I'm not sure where the other one is. Increased oppression, increased resistance. We talked about that. More people believing that they are getting lied to and getting really pissed off. So that may be a little bit unpleasant, because there, as if there wasn't enough anger around us. As people start to maybe realize that they've been lied to, and there's been a lot of deception, and things that we were told and believed. It may be about COVID, it may be about whatever it is, and then they start to realize that we're not being told the truth. That creates a lot of anger, and and then I was seeing force being used against the protest. So heads up with that. I was also seeing two new COVID strain concerned or something like that, or what they would determine concerning strains. We'll see. That doesn't mean that there's going to be two more variants, by the way. It's just things that may come up. Oh, another thing, increased solar activity was another thing that was coming in. And that affects our body, that affects the nervous system. Not in a bad way. It's there's solar lake codes. I work a lot with my guides with the central sun energy, and work with the light codes that way. But in the physical sun, there's light codes or portals of information that exist within the physical sun. And when there's sunspot activity, when there's like mass coronal ejections, solar winds, solar storms, and stuff like that, it infuses those light codes into the planet. So it's actually part of the awakening. The only problem is the magnetic field is weakening, which actually means more of these light codes, more of this energy reaches us, which is one of the reasons why the vibrations on the earth is increasing and changing. The problem is that it can knock out the grid also if it gets too powerful. So something to keep mindful of. And I wrote down increased solar activity affects body and the nervous system. All right, so our work, we're winding down now. Our work in divine feminine, do shadow work for mother wounds specifically. So that kind of came up. Most people have some mother wounds. Doing shadow work and shadow work integration, identifying the shadows aren't our enemies. They're just things that happen to us that wind up getting internalized rather than being processed. Usually it's when we're children, and our moms are hugely impactful. So probably more people than not have some level of mother wounds. The energy in February is going to be very conducive to discovering what they are and learning how to work through that. The other next thing was being creative, artistic as a way of accessing spirit. So when we create, like painting or music or writing or whatever it is, what's happening? There's a process. What does spirit do, or the universe does? It creates. So when we create, we align with the universal energy. We align with God, basically. So be creative as a way of accessing spirit. You guys can use automatic writing too as a communication tool. What you do is you clear your mind. You ask your guides or your higher self or God or spirit to come through, set the intention that you're going to write, but be relaxed and just start writing. You can start out with a thought, but just try to write and not think. Let it almost be like the thoughts that come through, almost come through like there's no middleman. So instead of like a thought and then there's an action, merge the thought with the action. So as the thoughts coming in, you write. That's what automatic writing is. It takes practice, but anybody can learn to do this and get good at this. So I also said do lots of heart expansion, heart brain coherence, feel super love in the heart. And I have videos, a couple of videos, one live and an upload about how to do heart brain coherence. Basically, it's an exercise. I think I don't even know where it got started. I think it's through Heart Math Institute, but by following people like Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, and others is how I learned about this practice. And it's basically just learning how to increase the emotional frequency of the heart to a very high level of gratitude, appreciation, and love. And then when you feel that in your heart, it activates your brain. So that's why it's coherent. It makes the brain coherent. And feel that in your body, in your aura, and feel an even greater love, a greater energy of compassion, appreciation, the love around you, and start to merge your heart and your brain with spiritual energy. That can be just a very simple meditation to start to open and activate the heart. This is all about opening the heart chakra. The heart is the seat of our higher self, and it's the gateway to higher consciousness. So that's why the heart is so important. Plus, it's about love, and love's a good thing. Let's all love. Um, all right, and what else? Awakening accelerates the energies. I don't know what that means. I just wrote down awakening accelerates the energy. Well, all right. And then I wrote down. I know this is going to sound like a plug, but I'm going to say it anyway. To do the energy transmissions that we do either here on the Medium channel, because that's one of my gifts for you and humanity is that I'm able to serve as a energy conduit and a transmitter for higher energies, for beings of light, interdimensional beings, angels, and stuff like that. So we do that here on the channel. There's other energy channels you can work with if you feel comfortable with somebody else. And there's other ways of doing it, but I highly recommend doing the energy transmissions that we do here on the channel. When this goes to video, I'll actually put a link in for the most recent one for you, as well as all of the links. And then do the Ascension breath set that's here on the channel also. And that was given to me by Spirit. And it's not just the movements, it's the breath and it's the intention and it's the way you expand, almost like uncoil the body and then contract it. So there's much more than the movements that may just resemble like simple yoga postures, but they're much more than that. Although in advanced yoga, they do the same thing. It's just, we all draw from the same source, but the point being is that unless you're pretty advanced in a practice like qigong or yoga or something else, in which case continue to do your practice because I'm sure you're doing fine. This is going to be a simple set to give you those types of benefits that allow your vibrational fields to clear of cogs and obstructions and allow source energy to flow through you unobstructed. And when the flow happens unobstructed, then you access spirit. And that's when you can heal diseases that doctors can't. That's when your intuition goes to superhuman levels. That's when you become a super manifester. That's when you clear all the obstructions and you start to awaken the DNA codes that we all have ready for the energy to reach a certain threshold. And once that happens and those codes awaken, we start to tap into abilities that are basically biblical, that people have always been able to do, but only the people that have had years upon years of spiritual training to do it. It's going to start to become accessible to everybody. And this practice is going to help you to open up and to start to clear the cogs and to start to access higher energies and awaken those codes. And that's basically it. I think we covered it all. So thank you everybody for joining us this evening. And like I said, okay. So people are writing some really, really good things. Thank you. Yeah, I do Kundalini yoga also. So that's it's the thing is we need a practice. It's just that the energies are getting so strong. Our nerves are being affected. They're upgrading to handle the higher frequencies. Our cells are changing, and scientists are noticing this, and they can't explain why, but they're finding changes within human cells. I mean, what happens is changes happen on a quantum level instantaneously, and then over time it starts to happen on a macro level also. So we need some kind of practice so that we can upgrade our systems so we don't have to have these ascension symptoms that people talk about. Like we can have minimal ascension symptoms if we're doing the work and helping our bodies, our energy fields, our brains, our minds, and our connection to source to get stronger. So, okay, I knew there's one other thing that I had to say. I think we are actually done now. Talk about twin flames in the waiting room. I may not have time to really talk about that, um, but in any event, thank you anyhow. All right, so thank you everybody, and be well. I love you.